Hi, chat. How's it going? Tell me if I need to adjust audio or anything during the stream. It's gonna be scuffed because this is the first time I'm doing anything like this, and there's definitely gonna be a little bit of a voice echo because I don't have any sound dampening things. Ugh. Hi, chat. This isn't the best setup, but it's the setup we've got. Chat is right here to my left on my big monitor. So, if I look over there, I'm looking at you, but I'm also going to try to stay focused looking at the camera. I just got to glance at chat every once in a while. So, the first vinyl we're talking about today is this collection by Vinyl Moon. It's called How Much Boom. It's volume 35. And we'll be listening to a lot of Vinyl Moon today. It's just a collection of a bunch of different artists. This one, if I remember correctly, is more hip-hoppy focused, stuff like that. For some gosh darn reason, it's a giant fold for like a single vinyl. And I will definitely bump the mic a lot, stuff like that. So it's going to be painful sometimes, so don't mind me. Pretty vinyl record. And we'll slap it in and adjust audio as need be. Again, let me know if things are too loud or too quiet. The next vinyl that we're going to talk about here is Snail Mail's Valentine. This is cool. I love this vinyl so much. I got it like a day before the record came out on digital, so I'm very proud that I own this thing. It's very pretty. Long awaited by me. I'm thinking I'm gonna pick up the older vinyl as well, probably Lush. Lush is the name of it. Probably gonna pick it up. It's a very pretty white and gold. I'll try to remember which vinyls are colored and which are not so I can show them off. Inside, and we'll just be putting them to the side in a little box. Hopefully they don't die in there. I'll do my best to take care of them. Next one we've got is Mac Miller's Faces. This is a 4 LP collection. It's ridiculously thick. It's nuts. It's also just a basic yellow, so we won't open it up. Especially because it came in damaged for me, which kind of sucks because it was an expensive vinyl to get. But Mac Miller holds a special place in my heart. Just overall, his music is really impactful to my creative processes, I suppose. And Faces is a really raw and emotional feeling album overall. So it really hits you hard. It's the most real album Mac Miller really put out, this mixtape in particular. That's because he really talks about how often he really abused the drugs that ended him in the future. The thing that's really cool about this album is really semi-posthumous because the estate had everything for the album and was released way earlier in Mac's career. except for the first time ever it got released on digital vinyl, so all the sampling stuff got through finally with like DMCA law and stuff like that. And they worked on that for about a year after Mac's death, which is just crazy to me. Next one, we've got an EP, Colony House's Rotten Tomatoes. It's great. I love Colony House. They're a riot. Really neat rock-esque band. I don't know if naming it Rotten Tomatoes is technically illegal or not, but it's kind of funny. It's really hard to see, but right at the title, it says Rotten Tomatoes EP instead of R for, actually it would be TM for Rotten Tomatoes, so I don't know. They're definitely playing with people doing that. It's a very nice tomato red, and it's an imprinted vinyl on the back side since it's an EP, which is really, really cool, and I've never really seen anything like it. So it's very, very pretty to have, because it's unlike anything else I have, even though it's just an EP. Next thing we've got is Daft Punk's Random Access Memories. It's just the really weighty 180 gram version of the record, so it's got such good sound quality. It doesn't play the best on my record since it's got a really light needle, so I have the trick right now where it's just a penny taped to the head of the needle so it weighs down and the grooves really play nicely with a little bit of a heftier album. Of course, the interfold. Synthesizers are so pretty. Just seeing the inside of this is magnificent. Random Access Memories is not my favorite Daft Punk album. It's definitely gonna be Discovery, but this one was the only one really readily available. I've got a friend, Johnny Beavers, who plays electric guitar at my church. He owns, I think, most of the Daft Punk records on vinyl, and I'm just like, ooh. But if you try to find Discovery right now, it's like $300 to $400 for an original pressing, and that's just like, maybe in the future if I end up having more disposable income. Reissues coming in February of the other albums. Oh no! Oh no! You had to say it. All my money is gone thanks to this man. Speaking of, we've got Reliant Haze. Fantastic album. Really, really a throwback to my childhood. A lot of the childhood albums to me was a lot of Reliant K, a lot of Switchfoot, a lot of Amberlin. I don't have any Switchfoot vinyl. I do have an Amberlin album that we'll look at a little bit later. But is, I would say, not my favorite vinyl again, but when I got this for the repressing, they immediately sold out of 7 years ago, which is by far my favorite vinyl of theirs. I would have taken Lungs, but was the only one available at the time. And it's this really sick, clear, like orangey yellow. Look at that. It's very, very pretty. Very reminiscent of honey, I would say. I don't know. I don't know where you get your honey that would be that yellow, but I digress. It's such a good album to have, and I'm glad they decided to do repressings, even though I wasn't able to get all the ones that I wanted. There we go. Next couple vinyls we have are the Last of Us soundtracks, Volume 1 and Volume 2. These are so good. This score by Gustavo Santaolalla. I hope I'm not butchering that name in any way, shape, or form, but it's such a good soundtrack overall. It is eerie, it fits the game setting perfectly, and the vinyls are absolutely beautiful. On the way is the third vinyl collection, pressed by Mondo for Last of Us, which is the Colors and Rarities, which is part of the soundtrack of Last of Us 2. They just had to get separate licensing for it since it was a lot of covers. So we've got that really gorgeous cover of Take On Me coming in for Colors and Rarities. Final Moon, my one thing about them is each track, since it comes from different artists, end up being mixed slightly differently, so the volume could up and go down. Okie dokie, bye bye Donnie. Thank you for stopping by. Also, all the Last of Us vinyls are like absolutely gorgeous. Like, this is pristinely nice. And all of them are just basically the same kind of pressing, just with a slightly different color array on them. I don't know what's with it, with these weird paper sleeves, but they never fit back in the way you had them in. So it's same color for the second LP. I don't always get soundtracks, but Last of Us is really special to me. So let's look at the inside of this. Also, the double side is so cool. So you've got Ellie, and then you've got Abby. Two parts, two characters, both sides of the vinyl. It's really cool how they introduce that thematically overall. And this vinyl is absolutely gorgeous. That splatter is so cool. And it's the same on the opposite vinyl. Except instead of the orange, we've got a really nice bright blue. And I believe the Colors and Rarities is going to look a little bit like this guy here. If I remember correctly. Next, we've got Kunzite, Birds Don't Fly. This is a really fun album overall. It's sonically sounding amazing. It's very dancey, but also has a lot of like classic rock and math rock influences. It's really cool. Hey Mark, good to see you in. So, I've their latest album, I forget the name of it, fell into my Spotify feed and I was like, oh man, I gotta listen to it. And they were completely sold out of the brand new vinyl, but they had their old one still available. So I was like, okay, I'll just get the old one, give it a listen through first, and man, my coworkers hated me for like a week. I would non-stop listen to both of their albums, and I was just like working in my department, and it's just you here in the corner, it's just like random dancey math rocky sounds. Next, we have Flume Skin. This album is a masterpiece. It's amazing. Like, this album for electronic music could not be better in my eyes. It's got really smart features. It's got beautiful singles. Never Be Like You and Say It are insanely good. Like, you will hear those in clubs everywhere. Guaranteed. I mean, I'm not a clubber, but I guarantee it. And the vinyl is also, I think this is called, like, their wintergreen variant. It's a really, really interesting light green with white. It's very pretty. Still need to buy it. It's not a bad price at all. I think when me and my dad went vinyl hunting, I think this was somewhere around $35. And the insert on this side, the A side, is really pretty as well, which is kind of the mirror side of the outside cover, which is really, really clever. And then it's also got some alternates on the inside. And then just tracks, records, credits on the inside. Nothing special. My box slid. I'm gonna have to reorganize these later. It's gonna be fun. Next we have the Chemical Brothers, The Darkness That You Fear, plus Work Energy Principle. It's a two-sided, simple, black album. If you're into any form of electronic music, 8 out of 10 artists would probably call back influences to the Chemical Brothers. They have been in the electronic music business for a very, very long time. And this is one of their later productions. I believe this was made just last year. So I don't know whether you'd call this an EP or a record. The runtime is 1838, I think. So, but it's still a very influential album and creator overall. A lot of their older stuff, I would say, is going to be a lot more influential. And they recently had, I think, a 20-year deluxe version come out as well, which I was considering picking up, but when I saw it, it was like $60, which compared to The Darkness That You Fear, I think that was like a $15 grab, which is a steal. We have Anberlin's As You Found Me. This is the live set of Dark Is a Way, Light Is a Place. This is one of the defining vinyls of my life right now, and Anberlin as a whole has been very influential in my life. I've been listening to them since I was probably 5 or 6. My cousin, my brother Grant would listen to them all the time, and I picked it up at like 7. I would grab New Surrender from the library, have it on repeat 24/7, then return it, and then the next day go back to the library and pick it out again. Like immediately. I was the only person who had that CD from the library for about a year and a half before my mom finally got me New Surrender on CD. Here, hold on. Let me grab some of my CDs. We've got my Anberlin CDs. This is Anberlin's Never Take Friendship Personal. This is the first album I ever bought. Forget that I told you that because I think I use it for passwords somewhere. I think just at my work, so you guys don't go to my work. I digress. This is such a good album. Paper Thin Hymn, Never Take Friendship Personal, Dance Christo Papagon. I would have this on so much. The drug references in it sometimes would get on my parents' nerves because I was like a 9-year-old kid listening to this. Don't need no drug, you're my chemical. Now I'm dependent. We've got Anberlin's Icon, which is a mashup of a bunch of their more popular tracks. Nothing super special to write home about, but it's good to have when I wasn't able to find a bunch of the older CDs that I wanted to get. And of course, we've got Amberlin's New Surrender. This is one of the albums that if you play a single song from it, the next 3 songs in the order of the list will get stuck in my head because I'll know immediately how the next song begins and ends, and then the cycle continues. It's hilarious. 2 that I'm going to talk about really fast right here is Gorillaz, the Now Now. I have it in the frame because when I got it, it scratched immediately on the main single Trans, and I was very upset. So I stuck it in a frame so I could stick it on my wall. It's a very, very pretty album. I would say Plastic Beach is going to be my favorite Gorillaz album, I would say, but this one was just a very easy one to pick up. This one is just a regular black album as well. LP. And then we've also framed as well is Weezer's worst album, which we talked about on stream. It was either yesterday or 2 days ago. This is Weezer's worst album. Do not buy this. I bought it kind of as a joke. I mean, there's one single on it that's really, really good, but I don't even remember the name of it. It's not notable in any way. Save your money, buy like teal, white, maybe black. Much better options from Weezer available to everyone else. I do not have another Weezer album though. Bought it as a joke and then framed it. Exactly. That's what we do around here. This is Clarence Clarity's No Now. This was expensive because it was import and no other reason. Like, it's, I think I found it for like $22, but then the shipping costs turned it basically to 40. So it was really rough. In total, the price was like 32 British pounds, something like that. If you're into very weird electronic music, a la Death Grips, but less rap influences, more rock influences, kind of similar to how some of Kunzite sounds, but much less danceable beats. And the album itself, the pressing, is a gold. It's very pretty. Like, there's little waves in it. It's hard to catch on the camera. Just rimming it, it's really nice. Don't clip that. I do not take that out of the context. Do not take that audio. I will delete that clip. Hold on, we gotta flip sides. Again, we're listening to Vinyl Moons, Volume 35, How Much Boom. I don't know if you can pick up older Vinyl Moon albums. I know you can for some of them, like they're very special editions, one of which we'll look at later. But I'm not entirely sure if you can just be like, hey, I want Volume 36 or 35 of this. Can I get that? Most likely no. Vinyl Moon is a subscription service, so I've got a few of them, but, you know. Next, we've got Billie Eilish's Happier Than Ever. I was not disappointed with this album. It's surprisingly good. It's actually very, very good. There are so many, I would say, looks into Billie's life, and it's such a different pivot from When We Fall Asleep, Where Did We Go? Even though that album is much darker in tone, musically, sonically, this one is a much darker in tone tale lyrically, and I think that's a really interesting shift from what Billie did in the past, even all the way back to some of the EPs, some of the singles, Copycat, stuff like that. Really, really cool. Now, there are definitely some tracks that are not as good on the album. A lot of people, a lot of critics really dislike NDA. They feel like it's too samey. I think it's in a perfect place in the album. I Like, if you listen through it and then you hit NDA, the drop on that track is so good. It's very underrated. We also have one of the exclusive colors. I believe this is the Amazon exclusive, like, gray tone. It's a little hard to see, but this one has some waver in it as well. Yeah, it doesn't pick it up at all. If you have it backlit, there's some really interesting marbling on it. I'm not sure if it's just a flaw in the dye overall, or if it's just genuine marbling on it to just be cool. Genuinely don't know. Insert of it. Lyrics. Billy's eyeballs. It's kind of cool. Next, we've got Kids See Ghosts. Probably the best $20 pickup of my life from Walmart. What a steal. Like, genuinely, I could not be happier finding this in Walmart and being like, oh crap, forget everything else I'm buying, I'm getting this right now. This is, if you look at pretty much anyone's vinyl collection, there's gonna be either this or Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. I have this. And it's this really cool, crystalline, absolutely clear blue, and it sounds amazing. Kanye gets a 10, only 10 ever. Kid Cudi also is the only person to get a 10 from Anthony Fantano through Kids See Ghosts, and then a 0. We have the special edition of Death Cab for Cutie's Transatlanticism. This is the 10th anniversary, 180 gram pressing, and boy does it sound absolutely amazing. If you're a fan of Death Cab for Cutie, and you have a record player that's good, I get this. It sounds so much better than the original pressing. I cannot stress that enough. Inside, just I believe this was originally a picture from the CD insert. I might have to ask my old art teacher about that. I'm pretty sure she still has the CD. I think she brought it to high school when I was there. This is the first 180 gram that I really listened to, and then I realized I did have a problem with my record player, like it's not playing correctly. Oh no. I hope you're happy, Wilds. I will not do a lot of that this stream, by the way. I will refrain from song requests, sing mode, and echo mode because that's going to mess up other things during the stream process. Let me close out a tab real fast. It's probably chewing up frames. Plasticine Dream, thank you for the follow. Alex, no. Next, we've got Samurai Champloo. This soundtrack, Nujades, Bakantayo, Shing 02, Fat John, Force of Nature. There are so many notable artists on this album. If you have not seen Samurai Champloo or listened to Nujades, I would highly, highly, highly recommend this. It's so good. The hip-hop influences are insane. Dude, it did skyrocket in price. It's ridiculous. This is one of the albums that I got, and then within a month, 2 months, jumped in price. Like, my vinyl collection has only gotten an increase in value and not a decrease. Like, pretty much all of these have been a good buy. Like, I'm pretty sure if you try to buy the Kids See Ghosts, like, clear blue like that online, like through eBay, it's like $40. I got it for 20. I don't know the price of this right now. I think I got this for about $40. It's a 3 LP. All of them are the same color. A really, really deep purpley red. Samurai Champloo is just hip hop and samurai. It's more like Western samurai, more, oh, what's the term? I forget the term. It's like hoodie samurai or something like that. where it's much more less traditional swordplay and armor and fighting, that sort of thing, where it's just more like, hey, it's a couple cool guys and a girl traveling along, and sometimes they get in sword fights and hip-hop plays in the background. But it's good overall. There's a good overarching story. Next, got Childish Gambino's Camp. Talked about this a little bit on stream before. It's an underrated album. It's really, really good. Like, really, 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 really good. Some of these inserts... This is like a special edition of it that I think I might have gotten it sent accidentally. I think I only paid like $20 for this. And it's got cool photography. Credits. And thank yous. For some reason, a lot of people really dislike this Childish Gambino album. I do not know for the life of me why anybody would dislike this. It is so good. There's definitely a couple tracks that really only fit with the album as a whole that are a little bit more... What's the word to go? Like a little bit more storytelling than music overall. Especially, not, so like That Power, the final track in the album, is much more storytelling, it's a wrap up. You can't really listen to that track solo, even though it's good, you can't really listen to it without the rest of the album as context. Otherwise, Heartbeat, Outside, Firefly, Bonfire, All the Shine, oh my goodness. There's so many good tracks off this album. Now, a lot of people would argue 3005 is a much better Gambino album. I still think Camp is better. I think this is criminally underrated. It is so good. So, so good. Next, we've got another Death Cab for Cutie. Thank You for Today. It's one of their more recent albums. It's a little bit more folky than Transatlanticism. Much more of a modern Death Cab for Cutie sound. You Moved Away. This album has made me cry before. It's good. And it's shiny. The insert is very shiny. And then, it's just the regular black. I need to clean this. 60s and Punk is okay, but I'd much prefer listening to some of the other singles on this album. Gold Rush is good, Your Hurricane is good, it sounds great. It's very shiny. This is one of the vinyls that got me into my vinyl obsession. I think this was one of my first 3 vinyls that I got. Like, I got the player, and then I was gifted this. My brother Grant got this for me. He was like, you really need to listen to Tame Impala more. I know Mom and Dad got you a record player for Christmas, so here you go. And he just hands it to me. This is such a good album. Such a good album. If this is a 10, the Slow Rush is probably a 4. It's so good. If you got into Tame Impala by their most recent album, listen to their older stuff. It's so good. Lonerism plus, like, shoot, what's the name of it? Their other albums are great. Inner Speaker is really, really good. Just Basic Black records, lyrics, so many good songs. Be Above It is a great way to introduce an album. Music to Walk Home By, I think, is a very underrated track. Elephant is one of the Tame Impala singles that most people, if they've listened to Tame Impala, they've heard. Just the really rough, distorted bass line, plus a really strong guitar lead, plus like funny lyrics overall. Make it feel really impactful and a great way to introduce people to Tame Impala. We have Covets Efflorescence. This is one of my first finals as well. Very, very, very good. This is only 6 tracks. If you like math rock, you've definitely heard of Covet. If not, you need to listen. I believe the painting was done by the guitarist / lead of Covet as well, Yvette Young, who is a phenomenal player. And her finger style of electronic guitar playing, it has really impacted how other people look at math rock overall. It's very, very beautiful. The drum work is amazing. I remember discussing Covet with a few friends in the past, where their original drummer could not keep up with Yvette, so he ended up quitting, and they got a better drummer, and boy was that choice a good one. It's so good. And it's an absolutely gorgeous final, like velvety red with like little gold speckles. This is one of my favorite ones to spin. It just sounds so good and really fits the atmosphere of a lot of different things. If you want something upbeat, it's got it. If you want something a little bit more chill, you got it. Covet has a lot. Falcor is amazing. You only have Currents on vinyl? Hey, it's still a good album to have. I don't know. Shayabuya, or however you pronounce it, is probably my favorite track off of there, but I'm unsure. I just want to make sure. Okay. Another one of my first albums, Second Hearts Club by Foster the People. I'm getting Torches, the 10th anniversary album, soon. I pre-ordered it. This is a really good vinyl. I got my sisters obsessed with Foster the People thanks to this. Man, Pay the Man, Sacred Hearts Club are all amazing. The very last track, 3, in Roman numerals, is so good. It's so good. Just listening to that will make my day. Like, if it comes up on the shuffle, I'm gonna listen to it, I'm gonna sing that track, it's so good. If you really only listen to Torches, I would give Sacred Hearts Club a listen. The insert's really cool, even though this is only the black version of vinyl. I believe there's like a neon purpley pink version of it that I didn't get, but this was a gift, so it remains close to me. And each of these little like vinyl-y cover sort of looking things are both lyrics and like titles to the track. So it's got like one for pretty much each track, each side. It's very cool. And the little bits of some of the tracks, like Orange Dream, even though it's something like 38 seconds long, it still fits so well with the rest of the album. Never listened to Foster besides Pumped Up Kicks. Give them a more in-depth listen. Really dive into them. If you started with Pumped Up Kicks, which most people will, since that single has been heard around the world for one reason or another, really jump into Torches. Just go at it, give it a listen through. Houdini on Torches is amazing. Like, amazing, amazing. It's so good. We've got Simon & Garfunkel's Bridge Over Troubled Water. This has some of the most known tracks Simon & Garfunkel has, besides maybe like two. This has got Bridge Over Troubled Water, of course. This has Cecilia, So Long Frank Lloyd Wright, The Boxer, Baby Driver, and then Bye Bye Love are all well-known tracks by Simon & Garfunkel. I would say my favorite songs on this record are definitely So Long, Frank Lloyd Wright, and Baby Driver. Definitely much more of a good feel for me, I would say. Baby Driver is a well-known track by this point in popular culture, both for the original influences and, of course, the movie itself, Baby Driver, which had the track play, I believe, at the back half of the movie, I think at the very end of the movie as well. So, this was a very fun buy, a very fun find to get out of just a tiny little shop, and this is an original pressing as well. Even though it's an original pressing, it's not really worth that much since it was pressed the living daylights out of it. There's so many copies of this floating around, you can probably pick that up for 10 or 15 bucks. And of course, we've got the Cowboy Bebop vinyl. Okay, before I talk about this, I've got a story. I ordered this right when I was moving to California. Like right before, and I put in the notes, please, dear God, please make this arrive after the 28th, which is the arrival time. It got here 2 weeks early. It got here like on the 10th and of, I think it was February, and I got here on the 28th of February. This was here before me, sat in the sun, the weather, it was just chilling. I'm so glad it was shipped in a cardboard like thingy to keep it stiff. This was waiting in the mailbox for me. This was inside the house before I even stepped foot inside the house as well. It's kind of hilarious. Cowboy Bebop is by the same creators as Samurai Champloo. It's one of the more well-known animes. Even if you're not a fan of anime, you've probably heard about it at this point because of Netflix bringing Cowboy Bebop live edition to Netflix, so you've probably at least heard of it. It's a very influential anime, stylistically, musically. If you like jazz, if you like swing, you're gonna really love this track. It really has a 20s and 30s sounding feel, but it's set in space, and they're bounty hunters. It's cool. I'd recommend it. The inserts are all so cool. Each of them are differently colored, marbled. A lot of different well-renowned quotes, artists, and the anime sphere have their big things to say about the album overall. Very little lyrics except for the opening couple of tracks, which just like little bits in it. 1, 2, 3, let's jam. You like jazz? I do like jazz. I really want to pick up a Coltrane album, but I haven't really found the right one for me yet. I'd also really love, I forgive me if I'm butchering the name, like Ryo Bayuki's Scenery is a jazz album that I really want to pick up. It's a really, really good 80s Japanese jazz album. Hey Ufi, good to see you. This was expensive. I got this as soon as it came out too. I think it was something like 80 or 90 bucks. Most of this is produced by the Seatbelts. I give them a listen. Even their non-Cowboy Bebop stuff, it's very, very good. And then this one is a really nice, clear, red, pink marbling. It's gorgeous. It comes out a little bit orange on the camera, but it's very pink. We're gonna have to switch albums here in a second. At least of what's being played. So we might have a little bit of a pause here. It's still 90 bucks. Yeah, man, expensive. I think it's worth it. Like, I listened through it. I cranked it all the way up. It was one of the first boxes I unpacked was my record player, purposely just so I could listen to it. And it made the experience so much better. You don't feel too good, Oof? That's sorry to hear, dude. How's my day? My day's going good. It's been a very fun stream so far. I hope to do stuff like this in the future. I don't know how often. We might make like a vinyl stream yearly. I'll probably maybe try to do like a record store day stream or something like that. I don't know yet. Maybe you see a little bit more IRL content, a little bit more talking content overall. Next album we talk about will not be this Filmmaker album. You have to put away this guy here. If you collect vinyl, I would recommend buying a bunch of paper sleeves, because these plastic ones really suck, and if they're made incorrectly, they'll get a crease or just a slim, teeny tiny pinprick on one point, and then you risk scratching a vinyl that you just bought. I don't know why record companies still put them in the plastic like this. I think it depends on where you find it, that sort of thing. But it's weird. If you ever press vinyl in the future, please be grumpy for me and be like, hey, can we do this not plastic insert? I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Hey! Am I able to put my leg behind my head? Yes, I can. I will not do it since I'm in some nice jeans. I definitely will not do it for certain. But if you continue being off topic, I'll probably remove you from the stream. So thank you. Next thing we're gonna listen to here is another pressing by the company Mondo. They do a lot of game soundtracks, and this is what we're gonna be listening to for a little while at least, depending on how people feel about it, is the Death Stranding soundtrack. It's so good. It's such... This thing, it's 180 grams, it's 3 LPs, and I love it. Even if you didn't like the game Death Stranding, I watched it. I haven't played it. I treated it a lot more of like a Netflix or HBO special instead of a game experience. I watched it through, no commentary gameplay. I watched it with commentary. I got a little bit too much into it. Mondo did your Last Night in Soho soundtrack. I believe Mondo does a lot of really high quality soundtrack pressings. Huh. Oh no. When you get vinyl and it comes like that, most of the time you can get it returned unless it's an eBay buy. If you got it from eBay, sometimes you can't always refund it, but you might be able to do it. It sucks when something that's so expensive and you're so passionate about comes in the mail and you're like, oh no, it's gone, it's broken. Yes, this is side one. And all of these vinyls are so pretty. Like, look at that. And that's what we'll be listening to for a little while. Each of these different, I believe this is a three disc album, so 6 sides. Each of them has different coloring, different spattering on it in this clear format. It's gorgeous. You're lucky most of your vinyl isn't warped. Honestly, same here. We'll be looking at one vinyl a little bit later that I fixed a warp in. The glass frames that I have here for like the Now, it has these metal fittings on the back that are like a compression, like steel leaf spring, and it's wholly backed with like this composite board, and it's got the glass front. If you put a vinyl and its sleeve in this thing for a long enough time, you'll fix like 20-year-old warps. I have made the unlistenable listenable thanks to those frames. It's really helpful. Alrighty, Alex. I'll see you later, probably. I'm probably gonna play some T-Lou later tonight. I don't know if I'm gonna play it immediately after talking vinyl or something like that, but yeah. Hey, Ethan. Good to see you in. I'd say we're about 2/3 of the way done talking about vinyl. But welcome in. We're listening to the Death Stranding soundtrack right now. I apologize if it's a little too quiet or a little too loud. Alrighty, Alex, I'll see you then. Next thing we're looking at here is Filmmakers Nocturnal, another weird electronic album. It sounds great. I wish the rest quality was a little bit better, but it's such a fun album to listen to. It's dark, it's endearing, it's stringy. It's I don't know. What would be a good term to call it? Maybe a little bit more like 80s horror, but I don't know. It's very, very good. It's loud. It's unapologetic. It's fun. The filmmaker has something like, I don't know, 10, 12 albums at this point. When I first deep dive into Filmmaker, I was really considering, like, should I get the 10 record collection for something like $240 import and take that risk, or just get one or two. I ended up only getting two, and I gifted one to Dan. Bye, Alex. See you soon, Oof. Take your time, man. And it's a really bright lime green. I would call this a Mike Wazowski green. Tuning in passively, just want to support? I appreciate it, bro. Nickelodeon slime green, also pretty accurate. Lo-Fi Daydreams, thank you for the follow. Sorry I missed it early. Next, we're looking at Vampire Weekend's Father of the Bride. Sorry, Melon, I already formed an opinion of this album before looking at your review. This was given to me by a friend, and they were so kind to just buy this for me. It's so good. My family, my entire family jams to this album. Even the ones who are like, there's better Vampire Weekend albums. I'm looking at you, Grant. I know you're not here. But yeah, Anthony Fantano does not like Vampire Weekend. It's good. It's just a regular black album. But I would say Harmony Hall, Bambina, Big Blue, 2021, We Belong Together, Jerusalem, New York, Berlin, are all fantastic tracks. It really starts out strong. It's a very long album. It's very, very long. It's a little bit drawn out. I would say is the only big critique that I would give Father of the Bride, but overall, it's really good. Sunflower's amazing. Sunflower in the moon. That's on side C. It comes with this really heckin' big insert poster. That's upside down. All of the lyrics, and then a bunch of symbols for the different tracks. When they were coming out with the singles, they would only do like a single, like one of these little symbols when they were producing and releasing the singles individually. I believe they released a total of like 4 singles, which was Harmony Hall, Sunflower, I think Married in a Gold Rush, and then 2021. There's also a really cool album, it's called 4042, which is kind of like a remix. If you like a little bit more of a slower feel of Vampire Weekend, 4042 is two 20-minute and 21-second tracks that are just the theme of 2021, but with a really different musical twist on it. It's a really nice feeling to it. And don't worry, folks, we're not out of vinyls here. I've still got a little bit down here. It's really pretty. I like it. Even if it's not critically well reviewed, I don't care. It's good. Do I have anything that's kind of fast-paced? Some of the stuff that we looked at earlier, like Anne Berlin, Dark is a Way, Light is a Place, or As You Found Me, as the live set is called. A lot of the Gorilla stuff is going to be a bit more fast-paced. The Samurai Champloo album is a lot more fast-paced. Definitely the Daft Punk album is a lot more fast-paced. A lot of the electronic music that I talked about earlier is a lot more fast-paced. Next, what we'll look at is Glass Animals, How to Be a Human Being. Now, this is not the special edition. I wish I had the special edition with the insert that has the cocktail recipe to pair with the album, which is a really interesting take on how to do this. I listened to this album a stupid amount in like 2018, 2019, a lot, and I never picked up the vinyl for it. The reason I picked up the vinyl is I got back into the album when the artist Ashley Lube started doing an art series on it. A lot of this stuff is really recent that she did for it. Huge Glass Animals fan overall, and just got me back into it. Life Itself, Youth, Pork Soda, Poplar Street, Other Side of Paradise, it's really raw emotionally, and even though it's really upbeat at times, it's got hard lyrics to listen to at times, and the content in it is sad to listen to sometimes, but overall it's such a bop to listen to. This was also a really cheap album as well to get. I don't know why I picked it up, how late I did. I don't really have any classic 80s and 90s rock. I might pick some up at a later date. There's a vinyl shop over where I live that has a lot of 80s stuff, but the classic rock immediately gets taken out. Like, it's immediately sold. It's crazy how fast stuff that is desirable sells there. They genuinely have some rare stuff there sometimes, but it gets sold immediately. I have some older stuff on CD, but I don't really have it on vinyl. This was a really fun album to pick up. The Isles of Dogs soundtrack. If you like traditional Japanese style music, taiko drumming, stringed instruments, a lot of really neat tracks. If you like the film, you're gonna love listening to the soundtrack. It's gonna bring you back to great moments of the film. And there's a lot of standalone tracks that are amazing. Like Beach Attack, Second Crash Landing, Election Night, the Sushi Scene track, they're all amazing. This single album has something like a total of 21 different songs on it. It's stuffed with music. So, not a lot of it is high quality, even though it's a high quality pressing, because it's a little bit compressed down, the grooves are. If you can hear the vacuuming noises in the background, I very much apologize. This is Silver Song Pickups, Willow's Weeds. This is a really fun album to listen to. I really like Silver Song Pickups. I don't spin this too often, to be honest, because the Silver Sun Pickups album that I really listen to all the time, or the single in particular, rather, is going to be Bloody Mary or Nerve Endings, which is such an influential piece of music for me. It's very, very good. What makes me enjoy having vinyl? Is it collection value, music value, or some other reason? You're curious. A lot of the time, I pick a vinyl that is more sentimental to me, or albums that are much more stand out to me. Definitely somewhat in collection value for me, like in particular with The Last of Us tracks or the Death Stranding soundtrack. I'm not gonna listen to those every day. It's not gonna be like when I pick up immediately out of the pile and I'm like, we're listening to this right now. Sometimes it's gonna be something that I have a connection to game-wise, movie-wise, or just overall, like a good memory attached to it, like with Amber Lynn or Gorillaz or Weezer. I have those albums mainly because a lot of tracks are influential to me in some way, pertain to a really good memory. And some of it is just stuff I've collected over time. I'm like, ooh, that's a nice album to have. I'm going to pick that up. I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to love it. It's something that's either easy listening or just something that I listen to all the time on digital and want a different experience with it. I would say vinyl is a lot more of an intimate experience compared to being like, let me throw on the Spotify playlist real fast for you. When you flip through a stack of vinyls, pick out that one that you really want to listen to right now, that's what makes it really special. It's like, I am deliberately choosing this album to talk about, to listen to experience. It's a much different feeling. And the audio quality can sound better than digital. Not always, but it can. Definitely not with my player. I would say this is a mid-level. This is like an exploratory range player. You just pre-ordered Torches. It's a good thing to pre-order it now instead of later, just in case it does not, in case it sells out. I mean, I assume they're making a lot of pressings of it because it's a very influential album. It's very famous. And sort of Willow's Weeds. Silver Sun Pickups is really fun. It's much more... I think, you might like Silver Sun Pickups. It's alt-rock with a lot of classic rock influences, with really deep synth tones and guitar cuts. It's good. Would recommend Silver Sun Pickups. Random Access Memory, by far, is the best sounding vinyl out of the stack that I have. It sounds amazing. It could not sound better in my opinion. The depth of the synths on Random Access Memories is so good. Next, we have Girl Friday's Androgynous Marys. I picked this out on a whim on Amazon. This was $8 with free shipping. I saw it, I was curious, I picked it up, I was like, man, was this a good buy or not? And then I listened to it. I surprised myself with it. It is one of the best, grunge rock, a little bit punky, attitude sounding albums that I've listened to in a long time. Girl Friday is amazing. It's just a couple of gals making good music because they want to. It's good. Would recommend. Especially this album. A lot of their newer singles, I would say, don't have the same feel as this album overall, even though this is a 2020 album. Their new singles don't have the same feeling to me as this album, Androgynous Mary. Gold Stars is a really good single off of it. Next two that we're going to be looking at, next three actually, are all going to be different collections of Vinyl Moon. Might like what? Silver Sun Pickups. Willow's Weeds in particular is a good album to start off of. So Vinyl Moon, as I said before, is a subscription service that sends you cool vinyl. It's a little bit more of a mixtape format where it's a collection of a bunch of artists instead of one standout soundtrack or person. So this one I had a ton of anxiety when I got it because you have to cut open the end with a knife and you choose a side. And the art on it, on both sides, is adjustable. It can be viewed from any angle. It's really smart. I really like the design of the art. I really like the design of the album. It's very pretty. The inserts look is also adjustable in any way, shape, or form. It's really like non-Euclidean. And it's like a really cool coffee-esque stain on a clear vinyl. It's really gorgeous. Next one we're looking at is another Vinyl Moon album. Really, really good. Very pretty art. A lot more psych rock style collection. This one, it was really, really interesting to figure out. One of the artists got removed last minute, so they already printed all the jackets and they just put a sticker on it. Like it got rearranged. I don't know why, I don't know the lore off of it, but yeah. And again, all of these are absolutely gorgeous. This one's pretty similar to All That Boom with like a marbled blue, but this one's a much more teal-esque color. This one is Collection 65 Earthly Royale. They sent me like 2 extra ones because they ran out of one of the months and they were like, hey, as an apology, here's 2 of our special editions. This is one of the special editions. This is another one of the special editions. It sounds amazing and it looks amazing. This chicken dude. Toys. It has some has some artists that I've listened to before. Like Foreign Air is amazing. Stall is amazing. It's cool. Inside, it's like classroom, spot the difference, maze, different instructions, and the album is kind of similar to Covets' album, where it's this really deep red, but this one has a really interesting black marbling to it. These faces are so fun to look at when it's spinning, because they get a little bit distorted. It just spins at a nice pace. I really want to find, I think what it's called is like a picture disc, similar to the back of the Colony House EP that we were looking at earlier, Rotten Tomatoes, where it's got the imprinted color on one side. Now there's some picture discs that spin in a perfect way that it does like a little animation cycle. That's something that I want to look out for, just to have in the collection, something nice to have. Next one we're looking at is Fables of the Reconstruction by REM. This was my mother's album. This is one of the ones that I fixed a warp in from putting into those frames that we talked about earlier. It's just a simple black record. It's not in the best of condition. It's very straight now, unlike myself. Now, what sucks about this, if it was in perfect condition, it would be worth something around $220 because this edition of it is a store-only promotional version of it that is semi-hard to find. This alone, in a horrible condition, is still worth like $30 because it plays well. Next one we're looking at is Mute Math, Vitals. Mute Math is an amazing artist. Really good alt rock band. They've really got some pounding synth leads, amazing drum work. Their self-titled album and the Reset EP are definitely my favorite. Vitals is just one of the easiest ones to find on vinyl because pressings of the self-titled, to my knowledge, does not exist or never will exist due to copyright and publisher disagreements, that sort of thing. Because this is done through Watchtech Records, and the old ones, I forget, I think it might be Universal did the CD distribution. Don't quote me on that, I do not know for certain. But yeah, just a simple black record. Standout tracks on this is definitely Joyrides and Light Up. First two tracks on the album, very, very, very good. Next, we have an album that I stole from my brother that he has not reclaimed. It's Two Door Cinema Club's Tourist History. This is the first vinyl that I listened to, and this is one of the ones that got me into it. Although Lonerism is still the one that got me into collecting. This is the one that started me listening. Because I was like, isn't Crosby supposed to suck for listening to vinyl? And my brother had no clue. So that's when I started to dive into listening to vinyl. Cigarettes in the Theater, Something Good Can Work, I Can Talk, What You Know, You're Not Stubborn. Amazing, amazing singles. I forgot how this insert works. It's been a while. Right. So, papery, we will not be looking on the other side because boobs. I do not want to get banned off of looking off of an album. The album itself is a really cool white. You don't see this often. Even though it's arguably as simple as a black pressing, it's still amazing. Oh, another one out of this is Do You Want It All? Is so good. This is a little bit poppier than some of the other albums we've looked at, but is still such a good thing to listen to. If you have not listened to Two Door Cinema Club, you're missing out. Dan, I remember you and I talked about it as well, because if I remember correctly, you talked about when you got the album yourself, and you were not expecting to be like, oh, titties in my face. What do you do now? Next is a worship album. It's Matt Redman's Unbroken Praise. I should get this signed. Matt Redman goes to my church. It's still sealed. It's actually a really high quality vinyl. There's 2 vinyls in here, but it's really high quality for a worship album. It's got great tracks. It is Well With My Soul is definitely the standout of it. But yeah, 2 big names in the world of Christian worship music, Jeremy Riddle and Matt Redman, both go to my church. It's weird when someone as notable as Jeremy Riddle just like walks up to my family and it's like, hey guys, good to see you. How's everyone? How's the dogs? And it's like, I've been to their in-laws' house and had lunch with them. I've roasted coffee beans with them. I have a coffee roaster from them. It's weird. Well, Last Dinos sounds like crap for probably a different reason. Arguably. Like, the pressing of this, I would say, at least my experience with some vinyls, if it sounds really tinny, you really have to turn it up. Because a lot of the time, I can't really show it here while I have this audio setup. If you have it really close it'll play just from the needle and not through the speakers. So if you crank the volume past to where the tinniness is, you can really start to hear those good tones through the album. Also, if your record player has a pitch adjustment or needle adjustment, that can also help with how it's seated on cheaper or more expensive vinyls to really make it sound better. Also, something that could help, you see this a lot more with like 55 singles. Weighting the top of the record down can also help with audio quality while playing. Thinking of selling Last Dinos, it's worth over 100. Hey man, if you buy it and then buy like the next Last Dinos vinyl that comes out, you'll just flip it and be like, boom, there's $300 more from the 100 that I got from selling the first, and now I can sell these two for 200, get back my original vinyl, and I digress. Too much stunk. Let's see, what else? This one is cool. This is the only vinyl floppy single that I have in my collection. It's Joywave's Half Your Age. Stop. This is so cool. It just plays on one side. It's really thin. The audio quality is crap, but it's just an amazing thing to have. They only made like something like 200 of these singles, and I remember getting it in the mail, and I was like, oh my god, I think it's my Dean's List certificate from my school. I opened it up, and I saw this. I'm like, you had 3 left, and you sent it to me. This is probably one of the coolest things I've ever received from a band in my life. Like, genuinely. It's very, very cool. I also want to try out Joywave's coffee, which is called Joe Wave. It's kind of hilarious that they do that play on words. But this thing is ridiculous. It cracked almost immediately because the hole was made too small and they were aware of it and sent out apology emails. It was funny. But it's really cool to have. Thanks. Thanks, Daniel from Joywave. Let's see. We only got 2 more to look at. We're just about over. What's this? Right here. Oh, this is the insert to one of the vinyl moon pressings. It's the insert of the main cover. I'll have to put that back. This is a Marty Robbins album. Sadly, it is not Gunslinger Ballads, because I would own it myself. Oh, excuse me, this is Buck Owens. This is my dad's vinyl. He does not have a vinyl record player. He picked it up because he thought it was cool. It's an original pressing too. We checked the serialization. It's in absolute pristine condition. It sounds amazing. I mean, country overall is not my favorite, but my dad regards it as some of like the best $30 he ever spent. I think he might end up giving it to his dad, who is also a huge Buck Owens fan. But that's a cool thing. You're starting to enjoy the talking? Well, I could probably jump into a game a little bit after this. I'll just have to take, like, I'll probably run a 3-minute ad break, clean up everything, rearrange the desk and the mic setup, turn off the camera, that sort of thing. But it's okay, Goof. And if you are interested in the previous albums that we talked about, you could always go back, look at the stream highlights, that sort of thing, because it should still be available for at least a while, and I might port it over to YouTube as well, which I could potentially send out a link to other people. The last album, or technically albums, that we're going to talk about today is another Mac Miller. This is the Swimming in Circles collection. You cannot find this anywhere anymore for some reason. I picked it up right after getting into Mac Miller, like immediately. I was like, oh man. I got into Mac Miller after his death. After watching a reaction to the single on Circles. Oh, which one was it? It was Good News. It was Anthony Fantano's reaction to Good News, and it is the sole reason I got into Mac Miller. It was like it showed up on my news feed. I'm like, Anthony Fantano crying over something, and I listened to the track, and listening to it, I didn't get it at first, but after learning about Mac, learning about how he was and the music he listened to and the style of music that he played, it was really interesting to see that progress. And the more I listen to Mac and the more I look into his older stuff, old projects, unreleased projects, just titles of things that were never released, it really comes full circle to his life and legacy. And I'm really a proud owner of this, even though this is definitively the most expensive thing out of the collection. It's still now, I think it's like 3 times the value of what I bought it at. I think I bought this at like $80 when it was still available. Last time I saw it available on eBay, it was for like $250 plus shipping. It's a 4 LP album. Technically, it's two LP albums, a 2x2. And it's really pretty. It's just the vinyls are opposite of each other. So the Circles album are teal blue, and Swimming is a much lighter blue. Listening to all of this in a row was an experience and a half. It was very fun to experience that. I got it, I made a tea, and I sat down listening to it like it was a feature film. I listened to it through, I did not get interrupted, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. At least personally. The insert, the booklet, is really cool too. I'm in the studio. Man, I love that synthesizer. I think that's a, it's not a Juno. It's definitely an older Roland synth. I think that's a 90s. That might be a CX800, but I'm not 100% on that. Even though I just recently got into Mac Miller and his life and his legacy, it's a surprisingly intimate experience for me listening to his music. And really influences how I write music as well. Even though I haven't released anything, it still influences my songwriting and the way I produce and plan to produce. That sort of thing. And he is in the 28 Club. This Wurlitzer is so expensive. You cannot find those anywhere. And that Wurlitzer stays in the Mac Miller estate. And it's hilarious. It's just like sitting on a throne. There's a Moog up top, the Roland right there. It's a little harder to see up top there. I don't recognize which Moog that is, but you can tell by the dial setup. And that, I think, that piano there is a custom one. Alrighty. That is the collection as it stands. Now, we are not done talking for at least a second here. Some notable things that have not arrived yet. I got Bo Burnham's Inside. That has been delayed till March. Oh, it's a good time to stop anyways. My camera just died. So it'll just be my voice for a second. So what ends up happening with that, hopefully when it arrives, I'll be able to talk about it a little bit more. I've got the Torch's 10th anniversary album on the way. I've got, let's see what else is on the way. I've got, I think I already said it, Lo-Fi album on the way. I have the new Joywave album pre-ordered. It has, I think it's been pressed, but hasn't been sent out. The digital copy hasn't been sent out of it yet. I think that's all for pre-orders and stuff like that. For that sort of thing.